Here we go. All right. So this is the first lesson. We're doing order of operations. Last year, guys, you learned order of operations is PEMDAS. And this year, you're going to learn that it's actually more than that. Included in order of operations, we're going to talk about brackets, absolute value bars, radicals, and fractions. Okay, so I want you all to fill in the PEMDAS here. I'm just going to abbreviate. So what does the P stand for? Yep. What does the E stand for? The M is multiplication, division. The A is addition. And the S is subtraction. Now, why are the M and the D and the A and the S on sort of the same level? What is that? What is the purpose of that? David, why?
Because first it has to be multiplication and division before it has.
That's true. Yep. But why are these written sort of next to each other and not vertically like the other ones? Yeah.
Because it's whichever comes first.
Right. So multiplication and division are on the same level, which means that if you have a problem and you have multiplication and division in the same one, it's not necessarily multiplication first and it's not necessarily division first. It's just whatever one comes first when you read it from left to right. And the same goes with addition and subtraction. It's not addition first, it's not subtraction first, it's just whichever one comes first when you're going from left to right. So let's do these couple of problems here real fast. 22 plus 3 times 5 minus 16. So what, Khalid, would be the first operation I would do? Yep, 3 times 5. So I kind of like to circle the first thing I'm going to do, bring down the 22. Guys, what is 3 times 5? And there's a concept here that I want to teach you. It's 15. So what do I write next to 22? I write plus 15. My question is, why do I write a plus sign? And most people get this wrong. Anybody? Emily, why? But why? Why do I put plus 15? Yes? That's not the correct answer. That's what most people say. That's not true. I don't put plus 15 because there's a plus sign right here. That's absolutely not true. Yeah?
Because the 3 is positive?
No. That's what she just said. Yeah? Anybody? All right. The reason why I put plus 15 is because when I multiply 3 and 5 together, what do I get? Is 15 a positive number or a negative number? That's why I put plus 15. If when I multiplied those two things together I had gotten a negative number, then I would have put in minus. So that when somebody says, well, you put a plus sign because there's a plus sign right here, well, that's not necessarily true. If there was a plus sign here, but this was negative, I would not put a plus sign. Because what's a positive times a negative? A negative. So the reason I put plus 15 is because 3 times 5 is a positive number. Okay, so here we have addition and subtraction together. Again, I go left to right. What's 22 plus 15? 37. And what's 37 minus 16? 21. 21. All right. The next one says what? 4 to the third power plus 6 to the second. And then that whole thing divided by 0.5. What's the first thing I do? Yep, I do 4 to the third power. Now use your calculator and do 4 to the third power. Hang on. 4. Raised to the third power. Hit enter. What do you got? 64. So 64. I'm still in parentheses. 64 plus. Now what's 6 squared? 36 divided by 0.5. Now, why did I not get rid of the parentheses? Anybody? Yeah. Because there's still more things that I have to do inside, right? So now let's do, but there's actually more to it than that. But yes, that's a good answer. What's 64 plus 36? 100. Now, when I write 100, now can I get rid of the parentheses? Why? That's not true. The reason, it's partly true. No. Here's my point, guys. If there's not, but let's pretend there was the number 4 out here. What does that mean? 4 times whatever I have in here. Now, there's not a 4 right there. It's not there. So the reason why, when I do 64 plus 36 and get 100, the reason why I can drop the parentheses is twofold. First is because there's no more operations to do, and the second is because there's nothing outside that I needed to interact with that as well. So it's 100 divided by 0.5. Make sure you put that in the calculator because it's a little bit tricky. A lot of you are probably going to want to say 50. What's 100 divided by 0.5? 200. It's 200. Any questions? Moving on. All right, so that's kind of the stuff we worked on last year. Here we go. I want to get rid of this. How to? No, it's not what I wanted at all. Oh, no. Okay, there we go. All right, the P in PEMDAS is more than just parentheses. It is any blank symbol. I think I've already said the word. Do you remember what it was? It starts with the G. Good job. Grouping symbol. So there are several different kinds of grouping symbols. The ones that we're going to talk about this year are, in addition to parentheses, brackets, absolute value bars, and radicals. And now we have a better understanding of what radicals are, right? All right, here we go. So the first one says 5 times the quantity 4 plus 9 squared minus 3 cubed divided by 2. There's 2 sets of grouping symbols here, aren't there? The 2 different sets are parentheses and brackets. So it's important to understand when we read an expression, an algebraic expression, or numeric expression like this is, how do I read it? How do we read things in this country? We read left to right, and that's exactly how we do math problems. We go left to right. So what's the first grouping symbol you come to? A bracket. Now, that bracket, the second part of that bracket is all the way over here. So what that means is do what's inside the brackets first, right? But then within the brackets, there's another set of grouping symbols, which are the parentheses. So within the bracket, I have the parentheses. So the parentheses mean do what's inside the parentheses first. Make sense? So what do I do first? 4 plus 9 or 9 squared? I do 9 squared. What is 9 squared? 81. Now let me ask you a question. We're going to cycle back to a concept that we talked about earlier. What do I put next to 4 after I write and I know that it's going to be, what do I put in between 4 and 81? How do I know that it's a plus 81 and not a minus 81? Because 9 squared is a positive number. Does that make sense? 9 squared is a positive number. So what's 4 plus 81? It's 85. So here we go. 5 times, so bracket. Now, is there anything outside of the parentheses that I'm going to multiply? Nope. That's outside the bracket. So what I'm saying is I can actually drop these parentheses. So 5 minus 3 cubed, bracket, divided by 2. What do I do next, guys? Oh, I'm sorry. 85. I apologize. 85, 85, 85. Sorry. What do I do first? Okay, here's a big question, though. Do I do negative 3 to the power of 3, or do I do 3 to the power of 3? I only do 3. Now, it's not there, but I want you to see this. If there were parentheses right here that say, do negative 3 raised to the power of 3, then you would keep the negative. Then you would include the negative, excuse me. But since they're not there, I don't do it like that. So I'm just going to do, right now in your calculator, do 3 to the power of 3, and what do you get? 27. You get 27. So this, I'm actually going to erase. This is gone, right? And what am I going to replace it with? 27. I did not touch the negative symbol or the minus symbol, did I? What do I do next? What is 85 minus 27? 58. Now, am I allowed to drop the brackets? There's no more operations inside 58, right? But why am I not allowed to drop the brackets? Why?
Because there's a number there.
because I'm going to multiply by this number, right? So it's 5, bracket, 58, bracket, divided by, what operation happens right here? What's 5 times 58? 290, and then what's 290 divided by 2? The answer is 145. Let's try and get in the habit of putting circles around our final answers. Any questions, guys? All right. I'm going to see if I can stop this. Actually, not yet. Okay, so 14 divided by the quantity 3 over 4 times the quantity 17 minus 9, all squared. What do I do first? Inside the brackets, and then what's inside the brackets? So I do what's inside the parentheses first, right? So what's 17 minus 9? 8. So I'm just going to replace this with 8. Okay, what do I do next? I do 8 squared. What is 8 squared? 64, but understand there's a 3/4 times this, right? So here's how I want you to write it. 14 divided by bracket 3/4 times 64. You understand, guys? Close the bracket. It's important that you understand how to multiply a fraction with a whole number or another fraction. So here's how it works. Everybody grab a calculator, clear it, so you have a fresh screen. All right, now, what's the numerator of my fraction? What is it? It's 3. No, the numerator is 3. So, to tell the calculator that 3 is the only thing in the numerator, we're going to put parentheses around 3. So everybody right now, do parentheses, 3, and then close parentheses, because that's the only thing in the numerator. And then our fraction symbol is what operation? Division. So do divided by. Now what is the entire denominator?
4.
So let's do parentheses. 4, close parentheses. And then what am I multiplying by?
4.
Times 64. What's 3/4 times 64? What do you get? 48. Here's why that's important. Listen to this, guys. I understand that this numerator and this denominator are not complex. However, as we go throughout the year, our numerators and denominators will get more and more complex, and we need to understand the concept of how to put parentheses around the numerator. Does that make sense? All right, so I get 48. So then I have 14 divided by 48. I don't even need the bracket anymore. And what's 14 divided by 48? 0 point what? 291, so let's say 0.29. Ethan, make sense? Cool. All right, moving on. Almost done, guys. What is this called? It's a cube root, right? So you know remember where to find the cube root? So do that. You go to math, hit math again. And I think it's the 4th one down. So you can either scroll down to number 4 or you can hit number 4. And then it's going to hit up here and it's going to give you parentheses. Yes? So what goes inside the cube root? That's the important part of this problem. 2 plus 5 squared. And that's it. So after 2 plus 5 squared, what do? Close the parentheses, and then what do you put on the outside? Not negative, minus 14. So if you get really good at the calculator, you can really put all of these order of operations completely into the calculator, and all you got to do is press enter, and it'll give you the right answer. But the key is that you put them in correctly, obviously. What'd you get?
I usually like one number.
Right here? You mean erase?
Yeah.
Great question. Go over
Oh.
and just type over it.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
He asked a really good question. What's your name again? Kyle asked a good question. He said he had made a mistake. He said instead of putting minus 14, he put minus 0. And he said, how do you go back instead of erasing the whole thing? So all you do is you just scroll over, and it'll go over to that number, and then you can just keep typing and it'll replace it. So you don't have to erase the whole thing. Good question. Guys, what'd you get for your answer? Sorry. Negative 11. All right. Guys, see if you can do the exact same thing for this one on your own. And do you remember where the absolute value symbol is? Hit math again. You got to go over. Yep, ABS. For the first one? You got a negative decimal, huh? That's because you have 2 times 5 squared and not 2 plus 5 squared. So go boom. 2 plus 5 squared. Yeah? Close it. Minus 14. Oh, I didn't. I didn't close. I thought I closed it, but I didn't. 2 plus 5 squared. Close. Minus 14. What'd you get?
23.
I have one person got a 23. Anybody else get 23? Good. You did not? The absolute value? Okay, so absolute value, go over. There's absolute value, okay. So it says negative 4 squared, so I do negative 4 squared minus 3, and then that's the end of the absolute value, so I close it. And then it says plus parentheses, negative 2, close parentheses, squared. So clear that. And then you probably have to do the whole, and then just have to do it again. All right. Good, guys. Yeah.
What I hit edit, it goes to that.
That's because you have minus 4 squared. You have to do negative 4 squared like that. You know what I mean? Guys, see if you can do the last one all by yourself too. What was this answer, guys? See if you can do the last one on your own.